right, so now we have this event, this master event created. I'm going to jump over to events. From the event tab, again, if this is your first time in there, there will be a screen that says module settings. So from there, I would just do scheduled events grid, I believe is what it says, and tell that to set, and that brings you to a search box. Okay. So we have created the master event, but now we need to create the actual event where this is going to take place. In order to do that, over on the left hand side, you're going to see create. And so we're going to create a new event. And once the screen loads, the first thing we have to do is choose that MEL title. And this is why you had to create the master event first, because this list is going to show you all the master events that exist in the system. And there are a bunch of them. Now, the easiest way to find your event is if you remember what the title was, you can scroll down and find the title of your event, which mine was down here in SWAEC test. So now I gotta go find where I put mine. Let's see here. Um, well, okay, it's because I have a hyphen in there, so I have to find where those are. Must have been up top of that list. Yeah. So mine is the test PLC meeting. All right. So I found my event. Subtitle for breakout sessions. You're not doing breakout sessions, so ignore that. You must add a facilitator, and essentially this is the person who is the point of contact, and this list is sorted by last name, so you can actually type the first three letters of the person's last name, and it will jump down to that section, and then you go find find the person that you need to be the facilitator. If there is a fee for the event, you can add the fee. Most likely, you're not going to have a fee. You're not going to have to worry about that for an in-school event. The limit is how many people are allowed to sign up for this event. Now, here's a catch. If you put zero, then zero means no one can sign up themselves, and you are going to put the people in. I don't recommend putting zero. I really don't. What I would do is I would choose a limit that's higher than the number of people that you need. So, for example, if I know that there's 15 people, then maybe I'll put a limit of 20 just in case there's somebody else who needs to join in. Like if this is for say 15 teachers, but it turns out that at this particular session you're going to have maybe the principal, and who knows, maybe maybe a counselor is going to be there or whatever. You're going to have people in addition to the 15 that are regularly there. So I would add a little overhead here. Registration start. Generally speaking, you ignore that. And the reason why you ignore that is because when you actually schedule the event itself, then it's immediately open for registration. Total hours, again, if it's professional development, how many hours are folks getting for this event? If it's not, then just can leave that blank. Again, breakout sessions, you can ignore that. Now, an instructor is who is teaching the workshop. And that may not necessarily be the facilitator. Okay, so if you want to, you can click on the drop down and you can find an instructor. If that's not important, just ignore that. Credit and amount, if they are getting hours for this, then you can break that out if you want to. So for example, let's say that this is a 6 hour workshop. However, of that 6 hours, they get 2 hours of child maltreatment. So let me just, for the sake of argument, let's put a 6 up here. So as you can see, I choose the item from the drop down list, and then the next box is how many hours. All right. So it's a 6 hour workshop. They're going to get 2 hours of maltreatment, 3 hours of parental involvement, and then the hour is just the other hour that's left over is just regular PD. Okay, but the whole thing is it's still 6 hours. All right. You can also leave this blank, and as before, if it's in the box down below, I can double click and it will get rid of those. Remember, only if it's in the box below will it save. Just because it's up here, that doesn't mean anything. You can ignore what's in the list. Also notice it's not required. There's no star. So the next thing we have are comments, and these are the comments that I referred to earlier, where this is something specific about this particular scheduled event. So on this particular Wednesday that I'm going to be scheduling this, I also want participants. Participants should also bring their book of the week, whatever. Okay, this is something specific to this particular event. Confirmation comments. This is once somebody signs up for an event and they are registered, then they get an email, and in that email, if there are other specific instructions, then you can put those in there. Generally speaking, I would ignore the confirmation comments. It's just most people don't even read it, to be honest with you. And then evaluation is required. So do you want the folks to provide an evaluation of this workshop or not? Generally speaking, if it's not professional development, I would not do an evaluation. So remember before when we created the master event and we had other, I would say other, and then over here, no evaluation. If it's professional development and they're getting hours, then you could say, yes, it's PD, so yes, we want to evaluate this. Okay, so for the sake of argument, I'll pick an evaluation. That's fine. Okay, is this a co-op event? You will never check this box. Okay, never, never. This is just this is something that we have to check at the co-op level. You guys will never check this box. Is it a private event? Now, what's interesting about this is if this box is not checked, then that means it shows up on your school calendar, and anybody who comes to your school calendar in the Shoebox can see that event. If I choose a private event, then later in the next few steps, when this gets scheduled, then it'll give me an ID number, and I can send that ID number to particular people and say, hey, go sign up and search for this event and sign up for that event. It's not going to show up in the calendar, so they can't just go find it. They have to know the number. What that does is that prevents just random people from joining your particular event. So it's up to you whether you want to make it private or not. Just know that private means it's not going to show up in the calendar where anybody can go find it. They have to know that number in order to sign up for that event. Delete means erase the event. You're not going to be doing that. We're creating one. And then there's an option here for no waiting list. So before, when we set the number of people up here, the limit, if the limit is reached, then do you want a waiting list or not? So we put down 20. If it turns out that 25 people sign up, what normally happens is once it hits the 21st person, they are put on a waiting list. And then if somebody cancels that, then whoever's on the waiting list can jump in. If that's not a concern or you don't care about waiting lists, then you can check no waiting list, and that means that it's only limited to the number of people you actually put up here in this box. Okay, again, up to you whether you want to do that or not. So the next box is about early registration dates and fees and all this other stuff. Just ignore this second box. You aren't going to be using that, so just hit next. Then you're presented with a preview, just like we were before, but this is a preview of the event that you're scheduling. And so now you're going to hit finish. Now, all that did was create this particular event that you're trying to have, but it hasn't scheduled it yet.